death, taxes, David Sullivan interfering in transfer windows. These are the things you can guarantee in life. So it's come out now that West Ham are set to offer a contract to Callum Wilson. I mean, nothing more West Ham than that, really, is there? We've been talking about it. Do you know what? I've done videos myself dismissing it. Being told, no, we weren't interested in Callum Wilson. We're not interested in David Calvert-Lewin this summer. We're going for young, hungry, up-and-coming players. That's what Graham Potter wants. That's what Carl McCauley are targeting. We know that's the case because we've been scouting Stassin, that he was considered one of our main targets. I can understand it may not be being a priority at the moment in terms of a position. We might be saying, well, look, we're looking at a goalkeeper in midfield. We want to build here. Then we'll look at getting a striker in. But just 24 hours ago, that pathetic message coming out that Graham Potter's not interested in a striker, and then lo and behold, here comes the news that we're after Callum Wilson. I'm massively disappointed. This feels like a huge step backwards. It really does. It feels like something that it just feels like old West Ham, doesn't it? Again, just typical West Ham going for that has-been injury-prone striker. Look, I'm not trying to be nasty to Wilson. If he comes to West Ham, player pulls on the shirt, I hope he does great. Of course I do. But it's just, what is the point? What a waste of time, what a waste of money. And typically, and lo and behold, we'll sort our client as well. It's incredibly frustrating, and just another reminder, another knock at the door of this is why we desperately need new owners. This is just so poor from West Ham. Very, very disappointed. To be honest with you, I'd rather be keeping Callum Marshall. I'd say, look, do you know what? We're not going to be spending money on a striker. We're going to use Marshall this season. We're going to keep him in. He's going to work with Fulkrug. We're going to try and get him to step up to Premier League level. I'd rather hear that. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather hear that. At least we've seen him play and nobody's fit and can score goals. Callum Wilson's days are done. Do you know what I mean? It's like how we feel with Antonio. You can't sit there and go, oh, brilliant, we've got Antonio. I'd rather Antonio. At least he fights for the badge and he's been here. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying Callum Wilson won't, but what's the point? It's really, really disappointed. And, well, we know what the point is. We know it is. It's appeasing friends of Sullivan, it feels like, once again. But the thing is, though, what annoys me more is that we've seen this previously when we've actually brought in some good players. Through Wilk Salthouse, when Bissaka last season came through the agency there, and bloody hammer of the year. I'm sure we've got clients that we could utilise. Why go for Callum Wilson? Do you know what I mean? There's sure there's better options. And that's what the other thing that's infuriating me. It feels like this is a panic. We're rushing to get this done and over the line. And I just don't understand why. What's the need to panic and rush into this position? We've got weeks left of the transfer window. Yeah, very disappointed to hear this. Goes against everything I feel like we've been trying to build at the club at the moment under Potter. This young, hungry, exciting team that we want to see. And you're starting to feel like that was the case. The players that we're bringing in, the players that we're looking at, you're thinking, yeah, you can see there's a bit of identity coming out of this, of what the sort of team we want to play, the style of football we want. And then it's David Sullivan. Here I go. I'll come up with someone. Let's go for that injury-prone player that we all said that we wouldn't sign. It's so infuriating. And again, what angers me more is it's going to be put on Potter. That's what they're trying to do with the whole, well, he didn't want a striker, so I've got you a striker in. I just can't stand it. Throwing a manager under the bus at this stage, it's really poor. And I can't get behind it. I can't get behind it. That's not to say I'm going to be bloody booing Wilson, by the way. I'm not that sort of person. I don't think anyone should be. You know what I mean? If he pulls on the West Ham shirt, I hope he does well. But this is not a right step in the right direction. I'd rather the club just be honest and say, look, we're very tight with money at the moment. We're going to have to go for a free striker. It's going to be one season, and then we're going to look to do it. Or maybe even in January, we'll look to bring a striker in then. But this is a temporary measure for a while. I think fans would take that. It's the fact that it's not spun like that. It's spun like Graham Potter doesn't want one, so I've had to go in and help him out. I'm incredibly annoyed by it, as you can tell. As we say, just in terms of the details of it, I feel like the club are set to offer the contract to Callum Wilson. The club feel like he's going to join. It's going to be heavily incentivised. So I don't know the figures, but that's the message we're getting from X at the moment. That is the case. It feels like today's a big step backwards once again, doesn't it? Just when you're starting to get that little bit of momentum, that little bit of excitement, not too much, a little smidgen of it. Played pretty well in the pre-season friendly. Just brought in a couple of new players. We're now looking at a new goalkeeper that's supposed to be getting in, putting a bid in this week, and Harvey Elliott talks are still ongoing. You start to go, well, do you know what? If these things happen, we'll start getting excited for the season. And in walks David Sullivan once again to just kick you firmly the bollocks and go, no, just remind you, you're a West Ham fan, and this is how it's going to be. Yeah, really, really disappointing. I'm struggling to see the positive sides of this at the moment, because it just feels like a panic move at a time when we don't need to be panicking. That's the bit that's getting me more annoyed about it. If we was literally like a few days left of the transfer window, I'd get it. Do you know what I mean? I'd sort of say, look, we were trying to get a striker over the line, couldn't do it, so we've had to now go and get this guy in as a sort of last-minute measure to get him over the line. But the fact is that isn't that, is it? We've got weeks to go, and we're now bringing in Callum Wilson. It just reeks of a Will Salthouse pat on the back, doesn't it? It really does. Very disappointed to hear this news. Yeah, that's where we are at the moment. There is other transfer news. I'll come back with them a bit later on. There is other positive stuff going on. It's just this is now going to overshadow that as usual, because that's the way we seem to do things. It's another way of just suppressing the enjoyment, suppressing things and making things feel less optimistic in terms of the season ahead. But look, the deal hasn't happened yet, and I hope it doesn't. But I think it's going to. Here we go again. Come on, you ones.